Hey guys, it's Philippe. I am filming this today for you from Barranquilla, Colombia. And not sorry for trailing off there with the Breath series. Uh, Things got really busy and I got sick, and well, that's just how it goes. Um, so I think where I left off was I talked about the lunge that I like to use for getting the whole body to extend the vocal tract forward, or the respiratory tract, as I prefer to say, because, and I prefer respiratory tract to vocal tract for a really good reason. And that's that even when you're singing, the primary function of all this is to keep you alive by getting oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. And you can never get away from that function. It's always first. Uh, it might not be in your priorities, but your brain has other ideas, because your brain is not all completely under your control. So what we're talking about here is the falling breath, and the reason you want to have a falling breath, that now I'm hoping it gets clearer and clearer, is that if you're pushing your breath out and you're not falling with it, the back of your neck as you exhale might start out in an okay kind of way, and you might be like trying to hold your ribs open, and that might be okay for like a second at the beginning of your phrase. The problem is that in order to maintain the position that you're in, you're going to have to use more and more tension in the back of your neck as the breath goes on. And if you're trying to sing high with what people are calling mixed voice or head voice, and I don't use these terms because it's just imaginary crap. So if you're trying to go sing high and you're not trying to yell, and you're not trying to sound like you're straining and maybe pushing out a really difficult turd, then you need this falling breath. And because you need to be able to change the whole length of this respiratory tract, so that you're not having to clamp down to keep your larynx low, which is what I see every teacher doing, almost. That I've watched a bunch of videos now, and they'll say something like, "Okay, I'm gonna be nice and relaxed for this breath and effortless," and the only thing effortless about that was the thought that went into lying to you about whether or not that took effort. And when you look at them, you can see like, kind of thing going on, and at the best case scenario, they're able to kind of suppress part of their straining by straining somewhere else, and so we don't want that. Well, you might in certain cases, but for classical singing and for smooth legato singing and for being able to even out the whole range of your voice, what you want to be able to do is freely change the length of this whole thing. I'm not even showing you that well. You want to freely change the length of this, right? So that your larynx down here doesn't have to be shoved down in order to be the right distance from your lips. The other thing that's going to do is, if the back of your neck isn't getting progressively tight, you won't be fighting this feeling. And people call this various things that don't make any sense at all. Like they say you're pushing your larynx down with your tongue, which if you look at the anatomy, it doesn't make any sense. Your tongue is this free thing that flaps around. If you wanted to push something down behind it using your tongue, you don't have a lot of leverage. And if that something is actually anchored below the root of the tongue, well, I don't see how that's even feasible. right? So, to get out of the lunge and sing low again, two things are going to be handy to think of. One is going to be not lowering the larynx, raising the larynx. And if you're being astute, you might notice that you try to raise it and it doesn't go up, right? That's support. And the other thing is going to be getting out of this forward lean. And this small ooh exercise you see people using is perfect for training this. And so is humming. So if I'm humming, and I stay up here, there's a break in my voice. If I simply get my lips closer, basically, to my chest, now I do it smoothly, I can eliminate this break. And I don't lose power in my voice. If I start already in this position, I've got nowhere to go, and I lose power going down to the bottom. So in order to not lose power going down to the bottom, we want to be able to maintain the feeling of that falling breath, and literally, we want the head. We want the head to be sinking down along with the breath at all times. And so if you've extended yourself and you start to exhale, well, you can't just come back now. Because if you just come back without giving it any kind of technique or thought, you'll find yourself overextended, actually, and suddenly you're pushing your breath again without wanting to. So you may need actually a little bit. Now's the time for the tension in the back of the neck. And maybe squeezing your shoulder blades a little bit, just a little bit, as you move, and then relax. And what that's going to do is keep your body from rocking back and leaving your head behind, or in front, rather. So if I try it with the small ooh, ooh, and if I instead try to tilt my larynx, which is fucking ridiculous. Okay, so ooh, it just, I can't grab onto the sound. It's kind of irritating too. But most importantly, I can't sing a nice big high note and then actually even make a crescendo if I want to into the bottom of my voice, which is super impressive for one, but also that's the way you keep your audience engaged, is that you forget about singing high notes and think about putting everything together so that your audience can become immersed in what you're doing. You want to look out and see faces that look like people who are at a movie that's really good. Okay? Now, if we're standing up, oh, look at that! Just the cable kind of did my camera angle for me. Okay, I need a little bit better than that. Okay, let's try this. Okay. So I'm not warmed up or anything. So if I was lunging this way, ooh, I need my legs together, remember? And I need to be sinking down into my foot. And I'll feel it kind of narrowing here. And when I go backwards, I want to reverse all of that. And I want to start to feel wide. So I need my hips in here to support me with what's going to feel like width in there. See, that raises my chest, but I'm not trying to raise my chest. I'm just engaging my gluteus medius muscles. So that's gonna look like, really simple. Start with the lunge. Ooh. You can switch to ah or ooh at the bottom, whatever you want. The point is you're gonna separate your legs. See if I can get my feet in here. Okay. And you want to maintain the heel close to the floor without touching. That's the idea. Okay? Super simple. See if you can do that. If you've got your falling breath going, see if you can get into your lunge. I call it a appoggio because it feels like I'm leaning. And see if you can get out of it. See you guys.